I'm not thinking about retirement yet. I guess when you think about retirement, it's about ending, and I don't want to put that in my mind going into the season.
That is a 40-year-old slugger, Nelson Cruz, who the Twins made it official yesterday, and he did a Zoom press conference. So we'll talk about Nelson Cruz, who Doogie just actually had a lengthy discussion with Nelson Cruz's agent for the Scoop podcast. Every Thursday, Reckless Speculation Thursday, our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department, inside information about your favorite local sports teams, which you can also find on the Scoop podcast, Apple, Spotify, SKORNorth.com. And this segment is presented by Federated Mutual Insurance Company, which recently launched, for any of you business owners out there, My Shield, which is the online client destination for risk management resources. If you're a business owner, think about how helpful it would be for you to have employee training at your fingertips, industry resources that can help your business reach another level of success. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com. Click on My Shield or download the app. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. Doogie, what's going on, man?
Good morning, gentlemen. Happy Valentine's Day weekend. Let me just go on the record to say I love both of you. All three of you, in fact. Declan's here, too. So, Declan, I love you, too.
We love you, too.
Appreciate it. I need some love.
We love you, too, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a weird stretch, right? I mean, seriously, laughs aside, the 37-year-old reporter, the NFL reporter from Yahoo, suddenly passes away. Yeah, the other day. Pedro Gomez, not even 60 years old, passes away. Man, it's an odd time right now. It really is.
Smith from NBA TV. Yeah, just a bonkers time here.
Yeah, and so I'm serious when I say I don't think we tell each other how much we appreciate one another and how much genuine love there is. A lot of this stuff comes out after the fact, right? Like you read all these stories about Sekou, and you read all these stories about the NFL reporter. After they're gone. So, I want the audience to be able to hear that all three of us have relationships that go back a long time. Phil and Judd, the three of us go back a really long time. So I'm genuine when I say it. I love you guys.
Can we make a JJ's Clubhouse run here sometime?
I'd love to. Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to throw them $20 and lose on pull tabs like I always do. So yes, let's plan on that.
We do, yeah, sure. I'm ready right now.
It'll be Judd's first time having a drink in a bar in about a year. I don't know. He says he didn't drink at brunch the other weekend, but we're trying to.
No, I swear to God, I did not.
If he's lying.
I was covering the game that night, and I did not drink.
A mimosa is alcohol, Judd. I know it's a lot of orange.
No,
juice,
I'm not a mimosa.
If you had a mimosa, that does count.
Not a champagne guy.
The fruit doesn't cancel out the alcohol.
I know. No, champagne overrated. Don't like it. Not good for my head.
Doogie, let's start out with. We have a million things to get to here, but let's start out with some Viking stuff. So it was, and you tell us whatever you know on this, but it sounds like Riley Reiff was within a few snaps of hitting a $1 million or whatever the bonus was for snaps last year. The Vikings, in good faith, have come out today and have given him a $1 million signing bonus because he missed week 17 on the COVID list, so he missed his bonus. So they gave him a $1 million signing bonus. What do you know about that, and what does that mean for Riley Reiff's chances to stay with the Vikings? They arm wrestled him and twisted his arm into taking less money so they could squeeze Unique Ngakoue under the cap last year, and they ruffled his feathers. So what's the future of Riley Reiff?
My sense before today's news was he would be back. So today's news further confirms my belief. Yeah, really cool gesture by the Wilfs. He gets put on the COVID list. If he doesn't get put on the list, that week 17 game early January in Detroit, he would have played the necessary snaps. I mean, he's durable. It's not like he gets hurt. So if he had just played that game, he would have reached that extra $1 million threshold. So it was unfortunate he lands on the COVID list, doesn't play week 17. So cool gesture by the Vikings. But why this further confirms my belief is, unless I'm reading it wrong, but this $1 million, so let's say they made a move on Reiff in March and wanted to save some money. This $1 million then would be an extra $1 million of dead money on the 2021 cap. So there already would be a dead money hit of $4 to $5-ish million on Reiff if the Vikings cut him. So now you add another million on top of that. They need a left tackle. I don't know if we know at this point that Ezra Cleveland is a legit left tackle. Maybe Ezra is better at guard. You feel pretty good about Reiff at left tackle, Brian O'Neill, who needs to get paid here pretty quick. He's a free agent after this year. So I know they want to keep him long-term. So that's the next big contract to look at. But like, you feel pretty good about Reiff at left tackle, Brian O'Neill at right tackle. They still need to figure out some interior stuff. But with those two tackles, I think you can win a lot of games. So I do think that Riley Reiff is back this year. So today's news just further confirms that.
And this probably starts to take us down the path, correct, of the fact that they're going to have to go to Reiff now and restructure for 2021. And I think if the lasting impression in contract talks with Reiff had basically been beating him up to take a pay cut, that's probably not a good impression. So it makes sense to give him this now as a sweetener to then go back and say, let's extend you through, let's say 2022, Doogs, and give you more security, but for less dollars. That's my guess.
Yeah, and you know what, Judd? That's a great guess. I don't know if you guys do points for great theories. I know you do points for great questions, but that a really, really good theory there, Judd. You're right. Okay, well, I was trying to help Judd there because I think it is an excellent.
He went on his way to buzz me, and I'm supposed to love him.
Yeah, I'd give him at least a half a point there.
The Valentine's Day list.
Yeah, let's not forget that Riley really likes it here. Like, I don't know if he wants to go anywhere else, right? South Dakota guy.
Iowa.
You know, it's relatively quiet here. Yeah, his history in college at the University of Iowa. I don't think he's ready to pack up and head to Jacksonville, right? Like, Jacksonville needs a left tackle. I don't think he's ready to pack up and go play for Urban Meyer and head down to Florida and play in Jacksonville. I think all things relatively equal, Riley Reiff wants to be a Viking.
Yeah, and he's 32. He's kind of teetering a little bit on the edge of his prime. And last year, I think I'm just to confirm that I'm not wrong on this. It felt like last year was his best year as a Viking in the 4 years. According to Pro Football Focus, 2018 was his best rating, but last year was his best pass protection year as a Viking, and they need as much of that as they can get. So, like, we're just spoiler alert on Purple Daily today. I've got a couple ideas I'm going to float by these guys about where they can clear some cap space, including one radical idea. And Riley Reiff is not really on that list. Like, you might be able to save $2 or $3 million to the cap, but getting rid of him would open up so many other problems. You should start with the pillars that you have, find a left guard, and go forward if you want to win in 2021, Doogie.
I'm with you. And realistic options, I mean, maybe you can offer a little bit more of a teaser on what you talked about for Purple Daily, but Kyle Rudolph, I mean, that's a given. Kyle Rudolph's not going to be here this year. Dan Bailey, they can save a little bit on him. They can save a little bit on the punter, Colquitt. I mean, those three would be at the top of my list. I can tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
Bailey is gone, right? Now
Bailey's gone. Oh, yeah, Bailey's gone. Yeah.
So we continue the Zim cycle of kickers. He's ruined them all.
Hey, he waited. He gave him a chance to come back, make some kicks.
I mean, honest to God, why is kicker? Why do we come back to this being the one spot where young and old there is no discrimination here in basically sabotaging careers? Zim can take you if you're just out of college or if you're my age, 51, and he can psychologically ruin you if you're a kicker.
And it's Greg Joseph, right? He signs the other day. He signs a futures contract with a good portion of his base salary guaranteed. I mean, that's why I think Joseph sticks with that guarantee. Bailey out in the coming weeks. Joseph has a little bit of a history in the NFL, but there's some better kickers available. If you look at the free agent list, Atlanta's kicker is a free agent. Heck, Suckup, who just kicked for Tampa in the Super Bowl, is a free agent. There are better kickers out there, but the issue is, like, the Vikings just don't have a lot of ability to be uber aggressive in free agency.
Yeah. Doogie, let's go over the Twins here. So Nelson Cruz is back, and it looks like the roster is mostly intact here. What's left for them this offseason? Is this it pretty much? Or is there a trade to be made for a starter? Where are you at here in terms of what the Twins will or won't do before spring training?
They certainly have engaged teams on the possibility of a trade. The Reds and Marlins would be two teams that I'm aware of, but I think a trade is more realistic in the summer. Like, let's see where they're at on July 20th, heading into the July 31st non-waiver deadline. I think that's a bit more realistic on the trade front, but they're still engaged on some starting pitchers. Like, if you go back the last few years, Phil, you might know top of your head better than me, but like, I feel like in a normal 162 game season, 2019, 2018, under this regime, they've used like 10 or 11 starting pitchers for myriad reasons, oftentimes injuries, but like over the course of a full regular season, they end up using like double-digit starting pitchers. They don't have double-digit starting pitchers right now. You know, Lewis Thorpe is out of options, so maybe they end up keeping him. But even if you count him and you count Smeltzer and you count Dobnak, that's what? Like 8? I don't know if any of those prospects are quite ready after not doing anything, you know, for the most part, outside of being over at the alternate site. I don't think a lot of these prospects are ready this particular year after not doing much in 2020, including Duran. Like he might not be ready. Maybe he is middle of the summer, but like if you need an extra starter May, early June, that might be pretty aggressive even for Duran. So they are still in the market for a starting pitcher. My sense is mostly on their terms. Like if James Paxton still wants $12 million for this year, they are not doing that. If Jake Odorizzi is looking for north of J Happ money and Quintana money, you know, north of $8 to $9 million, you know, I don't think they're going to do that, even though they've had a number of discussions going back months with the Odorizzi camp. Here's what I can tell you. I'm burying the lead here a little bit to your question. The Twins have an offer out right now to Matt Shoemaker. Free agent Matt Shoemaker, former Angel. I think he started a playoff game for Toronto last year. Maybe you can look that up and verify that. I'm doing that top of my head. But there's something there. Now, is he a guy that even usurps Pineda? No. Or usurps Happ? Probably not. But could he beat out Dobnak? Probably. So, like, he could slot in as a number 5. Dobnak still has at least one option, right? So if you want to start Dobnak at AAA and just have him as a reinforcement, the point is that coming off this really weird year, the shortened season, like, you're going to need pitching reinforcements more than ever. That there is a line of thinking that a lot of these pitchers, after minimal work over the last calendar year, are going to break down more so than a normal year. So if in a normal year, the Twins end up using 10 or 11 starting pitchers, like if I had to set an over-under, I'd set it at 10.5 or 11.5. Like the Twins are going to need 11 or 12 starting pitchers this year. Now, can they have a bullpen game here and there? Sure. You know, so, you know, one of the 10 or 11 could be, you know, you name the guy in the bullpen that starts and pitches, you know, 2 1/3 innings or 2 innings or whatever it is. But they're still in the market for starting pitchers. So I would not be shocked. Maybe it doesn't happen, you know, tomorrow or Saturday. My sense on Shoemaker is he's got a few offers. Now, I don't know if they're all minor league offers. If there is a major league offer there, like Brandon Kinsler just signed a minor league offer. So, like, guys might sign minor league contracts with the thinking that they'll eventually make the 26-man roster. You know, but I don't know if the Twins have made Shoemaker a major league offer or a minor league offer, but I'm told the Twins have an offer on the table for Shoemaker. I was told that they've engaged this pitcher from Korea. You know, so they've kicked the tires on a bunch of guys. They were at Jake Arrieta's showcase last week. I don't have a sense that they've made him an offer, but they are still doing their due diligence on arms. They're at a showcase here in the coming days. Chaz Rowe, he's more a reliever, but he's a free agent reliever that throws a lot of sliders. They'll watch him. The former Yankees reliever, former Philly, Robertson, has a showcase today. I haven't verified that the Twins will be there, but I expect them to have a presence there in Alabama today for Robertson. So they are still doing all sorts of homework. We should find out on Shoemaker, by the way, like in the next 24 to 48 hours. Like, he's got a few offers. They might all be minor league offers for all I know, but he's got a few offers, so it's not a guarantee that he's going to take the Twins offer, but I'm told the Twins have made him an offer.
Duke, how close did Cruz come to actually not returning to the Twins?
You know what? Not particularly close, Judd. Yeah, I went back and forth with his agent, Bryce Dixon, for 30 minutes just now. Clearly, the lack of clarity on the National League adopting the DH certainly hurt negotiations. They knew before it leaked that the Twins had made an offer to Marcell Ozuna. They also didn't sense that Ozuna was going to take the Twins offer. The Twins were not willing to do 4 years, $65 million for Marcell Ozuna, what he ended up getting to re-sign in Atlanta. So they didn't feel the pressure of the Twins making that offer to Ozuna, but they just felt like that third offer the Twins made, like that was a take it or leave it. You know, they tweaked some of the some of the incentives. I tweeted out some of the incentives, or actually all of them yesterday. You know, the money for, you know, even finishing 6th place MVP, you know, winning a Silver Slugger, making the All-Star team. Like he can earn another, you know, 6 figures in incentives, you know, especially with the Silver Slugger. I think that's realistic if he stays healthy. He can earn another 6 figures in incentives, but 13 million base. I mean, the Twins weren't budging off that. They started pretty low in October, went up a little bit in like late November, right around Thanksgiving, early December. Then they went up a third time, you know, going back, you know, 12 to 14 days ago. And then, you know, the offer was there on that Thursday or Friday. You know, Nelly thought about it. I think the news ended up leaking like that next Monday or Tuesday that he accepted it. But the Twins had made that third offer a few days prior. But there were teams involved. Like Bryce said, the White Sox, you know, were engaged. That was before they signed to Liam Hendricks and never got to the point of the White Sox making a firm offer. The Dodgers had legit interest, but they weren't going to extend a legit offer without knowing that the DH was going to come to the National League. The Braves had legit interest, but same deal. The Braves weren't going to do that. The Texas Rangers had interest, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense for Nelson Cruz to go to a team that we pretty much know is not contending for a playoff spot this year. Never got to the point of the Rangers making an offer, but there were a number of teams engaged on Nelly. But I think the two sides have so much love for each other that this was almost darn near inevitable. As ugly as it got at times, you know, and Bryce thought there was a moment that this was not going to cross the finish line, but the two sides have so much, you know, respect for each other and it's mutual love that I think this was always going to happen. It just got ugly at different points where I just wanted to you know, get Twins fans ready for the possibility, at least raise the possibility that this wouldn't happen. But I think both sides really thought in the end this would happen.
You know, the big preface here is if everyone stays healthy, the Twins have, I think, a better team on paper. You could pick some nits at the pitching, but like the fact that they added Andrelton Simmons, but if everyone stays healthy, this team has a chance to maybe be better than it was last year. The question I have the most is Josh Donaldson's calf. Do you have any information on how the Twins feel about his chronic calf injuries?
He's got his number 20 back. He's a new man. He's got his old jersey number back. Bringer of Rain 20.
Oh, that's right.
He's ready to go. They've talked to Josh Rocco and the training staff. They've had conversations with Josh this winter about, you know, different methods that they can help him, you know, stay healthier than he was last year. I think that's going to end up entailing him not playing 148 games at third base, that he is going to get some at-bats at the DH spot, that they can mix and match, you know, with the depth that they have. I mean, that's going to be part of it. You know, maybe even give him, you know, maybe more days off than he's had in years past. I mean, he's in his mid-30s. It's not like Josh Donaldson is a young guy. You know, they gave him 4 years, $92 million. I mean, they need to find a way to keep him on the field, not only this year, but in 2022 and 2023. So those conversations absolutely have taken place. Let me also go back to Cruz. He had a big hand in helping Alex Colomé end up committing here, that they have a relationship going back to Seattle. One of Nelly's cousins is apparently, per Nelly's agent, super close to Colomé. I'll tell you this much. I took a phone call yesterday from an agent who represents a free agent reliever. He's pissed off that Colomé took that offer from the Twins, that he feels like the Twins stole Colomé, that it now hurts his negotiating stance, that if Colomé took that deal, you know, his reliever, I think he would agree with this, his reliever is maybe a tier below Colomé. He just feels like Colomé taking that deal from the Twins now hurts his negotiating stance. So that Colomé contract, a big-time win for the Twins, and a tip of the hat to Nelly Cruz for helping get that deal over the top.
Players are not in a position for at least 2021 to get greedy. Like these guys are going to have to come to the realization pretty soon here that you're not going to play for what you thought you were going to. So,
but there are contracts, Judd. Smiley got $12.5 million. Charlie Morton, who I like, got what, $15 million a year.
But what's the key there? Those are all done. I'm saying right now. I'm saying if you're still out there now, I think there has to be an acceptance that the clock is ticking, teams, for the most part, are tapped out. So you are not going to get, I mean, guys, the Boston Red Sox right now are acting like they play in Poughkeepsie. They're not paying anybody now.
Do you guys
and
think
they traded Benintendi, who I like? I mean, why wouldn't you want Andrew Benintendi? Let me read you a text message from an agent from this morning. This is topical. I heard Boris Corporation still has 20 free agents. I can only imagine the level of anxiety going on with those players and wives with a week until report date.
My God.
So you're right, Judd. I mean, just that agency alone has in the vicinity of 20 available free agents.
That's nuts.
Absolutely.
That's pretty nuts. What else, Dukes? No, Gopher basketball. It's amazing. Gopher basketball has a bunch of great wins this year, and yet they're very much a bubble team for the NCAA tournament. They've got winnable games, but Purdue seems like you've got it potentially as a make or break must win game. But where do their NCAA tournament hopes sit right now with, I don't know, a few weeks left in the season here?
Yeah, I mean, they would need to win some games. Their net ranking is 52 before today's game against Purdue. They're 5-7 in the conference. Let's assume that they end up making up the game at Nebraska, that they get to 20 conference games. Is there a path to 9-11? I think it's a really slippery slope if they're 8-12 in the Big Ten, but can they get to 9-11? So can they win 4 more Big Ten games? Well, at Nebraska, you would figure that is a win.
Mm-hmm.
Do you win today against Purdue? At Maryland, at Indiana, home against Illinois, home against Northwestern, that should be a win. At Penn State, maybe home against Rutgers. I think there is a path to 4 more wins. It certainly becomes a lot easier if they win today. I am surprised that the Gophers are a 2.5-point favorite today. Purdue has back sharpshooter Sasha Stefanovic. He was out with COVID. He's one of the better shooters. He's a double-digit scorer. He's one of the better shooters in the Big Ten. He is now back for Purdue. Purdue was down double digits the game in West Lafayette against the Gophers, but then they end up winning by a good margin, end up just destroying the Gophers in that second half. This Newman kid ends up with a career-high 29 points. I don't understand why the Gophers are a favorite today. That being said, I actually think the Gophers find a way to win today. So call me nuts, but I think the point spread of Gophers minus 2.5 is interesting. But I do think there's a path to get to 9-11. So if they get to 9-11 in the toughest conference in the country, with all due respect to the Big 12, if they get to 9-11, I think they make the NCAA tournament. And if they do, Richard Pitino is going to be back. A lot of people want Richard Pitino fired. I don't foresee them firing Pitino during this pandemic after they cut programs. Heck, one of Pitino's assistants, not assistant coaches, but in his office, this sweet girl, Caitlin, she got laid off. They've laid off people in that athletic department. Are they really going to cut Pitino a check for $1.75 million to go away? I have a hard time seeing that. So,
by the way, I think
idea. Pitino's back.
I have no idea how much Caitlin makes, but really glad the Gophers athletic department is going to cut $45,000 off of a staffer's.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So how weird of a look, optics-wise, something they care about, how weird of a look would it be to give Pitino nearly $2 million to walk away? Then, oh, by the way, if you're hiring Eric Musselman or Dutcher at San Diego State, or you name the coach, you need to give that coach a decent contract. I don't see it during the pandemic. I really don't.
Hey Dukes, Wolves question for you off of the fact that I now watch all games and then text you during them. I got a question about the philosophy that Gerson brought and wants to run. And that's the point of what the Rockets did for a short burst seemed cool and successful. But does that brand of basketball, is that going to hold up here? Because
if you have James Harden, it has a better chance too.
Yeah, but it also seems to me, though, like we're shifting back a little bit more towards big men, and the game is changing back. I'm not saying fully, but it looks like what the Rockets did was replicated for a short term, and lots of teams got on that idea, and now they're sort of like, okay, but let's tweak it. So my question is, does what Gerson wanted to do fully translate to where basketball is going?
I think it does to some extent. And I also think Ryan is on board. I mean, let's include Ryan in this conversation. I don't think Ryan is running a system that he's completely against. So Ryan's on board enough with the way they want to play. Phil's right. Like, it worked to a certain extent. Now, it's not like the Rockets were seriously competing for championships, but they certainly had some good runs. But it was James Harden. It was the right shooters in the corners, right? Guys that could knock down 3-point shots. The Wolves don't have those guys. D'Angelo Russell, in his wildest dreams, is not James Harden. And that's why I think the roster still needs all sorts of work. It's a fair question, though, Judd. I'm actually talking to Gerson tomorrow at noon. I'm recording a Zoom with Gerson tomorrow. I'll ask him the question. Gerson is good in those one-on-one type interviews. He's got a lot of politician in him, right? Where he's ready for anything and everything, and he'll be very political with his response. But I'll try to force some things in there. So I will bring that up to him. But yeah, I don't think they're tweaking the system a whole lot moving forward. As long as Gerson's in charge, as long as Ryan is the head coach, I don't foresee them playing a completely different style of offensive basketball.
All right, Dukes, rapid fire scoops to wrap here. What else you got in the bag?
Well, let's just continue the Wolves theme. The trade deadline is now about a month away, give or take. So the Wolves are going to be active. They're still looking for a power forward. They have too many wings. Jarrett Culver should be back. If he's not back later this week, he should be back early next week. So would you potentially dangle Culver or would you dangle Okogie? But they have too many wings. Like, Jalen Noel is a rotation guy. I've said that for a while. That's my guy. Jalen Noel deserves minutes. The defense has a ways to go, but the defense has a ways to go for a lot of these guys. Jalen Noel needs minutes. So I just don't know how you mix all these guys in. So to me, you should dangle Culver or Okogie. So I have no doubt that the Wolves are going to engage teams on some different possibilities to bring in a power forward. I don't know specifically, which of those guys they'll end up, dangling, but I think that possibility does exist. I can't imagine that Glenn Taylor is real happy that the Iowa Wolves were fined $10,000. This thing just got going down in the Orlando bubble. They got fined $10,000. 4 or 5 players had a couple game checks docked. So the word is that, there's a lot of protocols in place, right? That about 4 or 5 players, including local guy Ade Murkey, who went to St. Croix Lutheran High School, University of Denver guy, they were all in the same hotel room. And you're not supposed to have 4 or 5 people in the same hotel room.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, no big deal, right? But they knew the rules going into it. They violated the rules. But I'm just telling you, I can't imagine. I haven't talked to Glenn, but can you imagine? Because Glenn had to cut a pretty big check for the Iowa Wolves to play down there. And then all of a sudden, this thing just gets going, and the organization is fined $10,000. You cannot make it up. Let me give you one more. On the Wild, I was texting with a player. This player believes that they will be back on the practice ice, not game ice, but practice ice as soon as Sunday.
All right. Inside information about your favorite local sports teams. It's Darren.
And no new positive tests. So we know all the guys that are on the COVID list, but as of this morning, there are no new positive tests for the Wild.
Nice.
God, it's almost the whole team.
You can check out Doogie has great long-form interviews on the Scoop podcast as well if you want more. Apple, Spotify, SKORNorth.com. All right,
yeah,
Doogie.
And Phil, on that, Ellerson Smith, Minneapolis South High School, Northern Iowa. He had a really good week down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. He'll be a guest on my next podcast. So he's training down at Exos in Scottsdale. He's been training alongside Daniil Hunter. Daniil Hunter of the Vikings is down there doing his rehab. Ellerson says that Daniil looks off the charts great, and he's forming a little bit of a relationship with Daniil, one defensive end to another. He's been trying to pick Daniil's brain pretty good.
Right on.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. All right, bye, Doogie.
See you, dude.
All right, see you, boys.
Great stuff.
You can find Doogie 5 Eyewitness News sports team every Thursday as part of Reckless Speculation.
I think my Gerson question is now legit, though.
Well, I don't know. I mean, philosophically, what the Wolves want, like the few things that they want are interchangeable guys that can switch on defense. You want to be able to take a guy that might ordinarily be classified as a 3 or a 2 and maybe play him in a smaller lineup at the 4. And they have a lot of those things, right? They've got combo guards They've got guys who can sort of rotate between a 2, 3, and a 4. And they're trying to get more shooters. Jalen Noel can shoot. Karl Anthony Towns can shoot. Like they're trying to bring more shooters in. So they want to be more multiple and just have players instead of positions.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I think ultimately they'd love to run a lot of pick and roll with D'Angelo Russell. But then I think they would also like to have a lot of spacing and guys that can move the ball quickly and play at a fast pace on offense. Part of the problem is, and this is just, I am not a basketball scout, nor did I stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but D'Angelo Russell slows everything down.
Yes.
Like he's kind of an old school player, and that he wants to sort of dribble the ball up oftentimes, and dribble the air out of it, and run his pick and roll and whatnot. You see when he's not in the game, sometimes the ball starts flying back and forth a little bit more, and the pacing can be different. That's just my own observation. But the Rockets, much like the triangle offense has been tried many times without the Michael Jordan or the Kobe Bryant, right, or the Shaq in the post.
Yep.
And doesn't look quite as good when you're running it with non-Hall of Fame caliber players. You could probably say the same thing about almost any offensive system. But what the Rockets were running was mostly James Harden, 4 guys clear out and space.
Yep.
James Harden operates one-on-one, oftentimes without pick and roll. He just goes one-on-one, right?
Yep.
And then he would try to beat his man either to the rim or take a step back 3. If someone helps, he would find the open man for a 3. And it kind of feels like the Wolves want D'Angelo Russell to be James Harden long-term, and he's not.
And he never will be.
I don't think he will be. Yeah,
no.
I think you would have. No, it took James Harden like 6 years to really become James Harden. And so D'Angelo Russell's only been in the league for like 5. But it's just like, if you're hoping that he turns into this beast of like a top 5 offensive player, I just don't know that that's going to be the case. So that's my amateur.
But besides that, things are going fantastic at Target Center.
They
are going swimmingly.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, one last thing on this reckless speculation episode.
Reckless speculation.
We take people's trade ideas all the time on these Thursdays, and we parse them apart and we entertain them. We probably received like 15 different variations on Twitter, on Instagram, of the Teddy Bridgewater and number 8 overall pick trade that was reportedly offered by the Panthers to the Detroit Lions for Matt Stafford, the Adam Schefter reported trade. So the Panthers called the Lions before the Lions swung a deal with the Rams and said, we'll give you Teddy, we'll give you the 8th overall pick, and we'll give you a 5th round pick for your slightly above average starting quarterback in Matt Stafford.
Yep.
And we've kind of said, all right, well, I mean, couldn't you just call the Panthers and get, and I think my question to you is twofold. One, what is the likelihood of a Kirk Cousins trade in general? And is the most valuable thing in that trade the 8th overall pick or Teddy Bridgewater in the mind of Mike Zimmer if they were to make that trade?
Oh, it's not even close. It's the pick, because the pick,
I think he loves Teddy.
He does, but the pick can be turned into an asset that would be perceived to be a star. And Teddy could come back and at the very best be solid and very productive, but he's not a star. So the trade itself would not be made because Teddy would be coming back here and guys like Declan would break out their jerseys and start crying, which is great. I mean, there is nothing wrong with grown men crying, okay? It's 2021. Crying is fine. I'm not looking down on crying. In fact, if you are tuned in right now and want a good cry, go right ahead. But that being said, the 8th pick, and I saw some pushback to the idea on Twitter based on Teddy saying, who cares about Teddy? Teddy's not the point. You're just taking him back. Well, like the Panthers didn't call Detroit and start with, okay, here's the offer. We're starting with Teddy. And oh, by the way, we'll throw in the 8th pick. The call started with the 8th pick. So there is no doubt in my mind that from Zim to Spielman to the Wilfs to Declan, the most valuable part of the trade is the pick itself. Now, you're just taking back a quarterback and a contract, which to me is sort of on par probably more with an NBA type of trade, Phil. But yeah, it is the pick, and the likelihood of the Vikings trading Kirk is very, very small. In fact, I don't think that they are as much as we would like Rick to make the call to get the haul. I don't think that they are initiating the calls. That being said,
make the call.
If you don't think that they are getting calls, you're crazy. They are getting calls.
Absolutely. I still stand by. I think teams are higher on Matt Stafford's potential and just his
for sure
the perception that he's been held down by the Lions and something else to note. Something else to just put in your little pocket. Okay. I think the Vikings are very much set in running it back. I think the relationship between Clint Kubiak and Kirk Cousins is strong, and they're not likely to deviate from that partnership in 2000. They're basically the same age too, Clint Kubiak and Cousins. Like there's probably a rapport there.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to deviate. Yep. However, okay, if you could downgrade slightly at quarterback with Teddy Bridgewater coming back and pick up that 8th pick and pick up a 5th round pick, so your draft capital goes up. It's a net gain for the Vikings just on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And Clint Kubiak in Teddy Bridgewater's first year as Viking starting quarterback was an offensive staffer and an assistant under Mike Zimmer. He was also an assistant under Leslie Frazier, actually, in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Clint Kubiak was the offensive quality control coach and an assistant wide receivers coach for the Vikings in 2014. He likely, I don't know for sure, also has a good relationship with Teddy Bridgewater.
Who doesn't?
So I'm just saying, like, I don't think you would just do it for like Jimmy Garoppolo. That's too much of a wrench. Too much of a wrench unless you were getting a 1st round pick haul back or something.
Yep.
I think if you were to switch quarterbacks, it would be for Teddy Bridgewater, Deshaun Watson, and that's gone, right? Like we've been told there's no way that's going to happen. Or you would be starting over with a rookie. So I just want to say, like, well, Clint Kubiak and Kirk Cousins have a great relationship. Clint Kubiak and Teddy Bridgewater probably have a great relationship too. Just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's very possible. But I just don't think, I don't think in the Vikings' mind, they have a true interest in trading Kirk. And I do believe that from a financial standpoint, it's very difficult. From my standpoint, though, if you get the right call, the quarterback carousel is crazy. You've got to at least be tempted by a trade potential. I don't think that they would make it. But I do think that there would come a time where if a team said, okay, we'll give you X, Y, and Z, that you could not hang the phone up and say, no way. And I'm curious as well, the most important question to me is there a master plan to address the Cousins cap hit, not in 21, but 22? Because that's the one, that's the wrench. And look, they could say,
when you brought that up,
and they could say in March of 2022, we'll address it then. But at some point in time, it has to be addressed because it can't go through as currently constructed.
It's funny you brought that up. It's like the end of one of those 1960s Batman episodes. Next week, same bat time, different bat channel, the Purple Daily channel. Will Phil Mackey come up with a plan to smooth out that Kirk Cousins cap hit in 2022?
Holy smoly, Phil, that cap hit is huge.
Tune in, because on Purple Daily today, which you'll be able to find Apple, Spotify, SKORNorth.com, SKOR North app, and YouTube, I have a plan for Kirk Cousins' contract. I have a plan that doesn't involve a trade. Just going to throw that at you.
To the Viking Mobile we go.